Okay, everybody, so this is Mr. French, and today's video is going to be focusing on how you go from your rough draft for your musical visions connection to your test strip for the scratch board. So remember, your rough draft should be just drawn for all the outlines, and then, if you had some black paper like this, you can go ahead and use white colored pencil on top of there, or if you got a white charcoal pencil, these work really well too, charcoal white. Or if you just have a white piece of chalk, you can draw in there. If you don't have black paper or any of those white drawing materials, you can just do your rough draft on white paper. But remember, you want to simulate the effect of scratchboard by, after you draw with the pencil on here, then you go ahead and build it up with marker so that you can get a range of values. You want to definitely have some light areas, some medium areas, and some dark areas. So of course, solid black would be the darkest, and then for the medium areas, you can use hatching, you can use stippling, you can use cross hatching, but you don't necessarily have to get three-dimensional effects like this, but you definitely need at least some light, medium, and dark areas in there. So once you've got it all mapped out, in your square composition there, then pick an area that you think is going to be the trickiest to draw, and you're going to take your test strip and just slide it underneath that spot that you think is going to be tough. Like for me, I would think right in here, this hand right here, that's going to be kind of tricky compared to these flatter shapes. This will be one of the trickiest spots. So, for at least about half of your test strip, you want to go ahead and draw that tricky part to scale. That means the exact same size. Don't try to take this whole image and just shrink it down, because all those little details, you won't be able to make them super tiny because you're using a certain number of tools, and there's just no way to shrink it all down to size like that. So just, if you can do the trickiest parts the exact size, then it'd be easy to do the rest of the stuff. So you're just going to practice, and you don't have to see, the reason I'm putting it underneath there is because you don't have to redraw it freehand. You can just slide it under, and then when you go ahead and press down on these lines with a ballpoint pen, it's going to leave an impression. So you watch this, I press down really hard right here, and then look at that, lo and behold, you can see that line right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of this stuff in here. Let's go ahead and just get this whole edge coming down like that. We'll go ahead and create the other edge of the finger over here. We don't really need to do all these lines in here like this. This is just to help us remember, where the different sections on the finger are, but we can do that light, medium, and dark stuff, no problem. Once we go ahead and get the outline, that part's going to be easy. Get the thumb in here. So you got to press down pretty hard to leave the impression on the scratch board there. Alrighty. Get the thumbnail. Get the little wrinkled up part for the joint on your thumb right there. Okay, so see that? Now you can actually see that. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but if we hold the lighting in, see, now you can see that, no problem. So then you just go ahead and you start scratching out those lines on there, and looking at this as a reference for where you're going to scratch. Remember, everything you scratch is going to be revealing the light on the scratch board, so you're not creating shadows. The shadows are already there. That's your goal, to keep the shadows. So remember, if you picked up your materials from me, you got yourself this wooden skewer, and you've also got a paper clip. And I told you, you can take your paper clip. See what I did here? I took the paper clip and I bent it open so the tip is out there, and then I just taped it onto this marker right there. I also mentioned how if you've got any pins or needles at home, you could use those for really fine tools. And this one is just a safety pin that I bent open, and then I taped it on the end of a brush. You could use your watercolor brush as a handle and just tape things on there. So, practice with these different tools. You can also experiment with other tools you can find in your kitchen. I know one of my students said she was using a knife. Of course, you want to be careful not to cut yourself with any of these tools. Maybe see what it's like doing a steak knife with those ridges on there. You can get multiple pieces cut at the same time there. So I want to, test it out. For this one, that tip there is a little bit fragile there. It might like snap off a little bit, but you can always just continue using it even when it's slightly, not quite as sharp. It'll still make a line on there. So you just go ahead and follow those edges that you created. See that? Once you finally get the feel for it, you can actually create those edges nicely. You just got to hold at the right angle right there. And, if that one tool isn't working out for you, remember, just experiment with the other tools. So here's your paper clip in there. You got to be careful to hold that nice and steady, too. There we go. This takes a little practice there. And then here's the pin tool where I've got that safety pin on there for even more detailed lines. Gotta be careful not to let this get untaped. It's not the ideal situation here with these handmade tools, but it does actually work. There we go. So you can get really fine details like that as well. If you can see that very well, there we go. And, for those of you that are working in person, remember you'll be able to borrow one of these tools from me. And, with this tool, that'll give you the easiest kind of a line on there. And there can be different thicknesses when you've got that rounded tool, depending on how you hold it at an angle right there. All right, so we've practiced that part, and then let's go ahead and practice with these other tools that we've got here. Check out the steak knife. You can actually get multiple pieces all at once. See that? I made 3 lines all at once. So if you got a big area and you want to experiment, you know, if you've got a steak knife like this with a serrated edge, that could be really quite cool. And then this one, if you want to get rid of a big area all at once, this works well. Look at that. So we got rid of a large area. That would be a lot easier using that instead of one of those just sharp tools. So, you know, experiment, try out with stippling, try hatching, cross hatching.